Something's happening, so it looks like it's working. Give it a second. All righty, we are live.
Very good, very good. Well, good evening. I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting for the Maumelle Planning Commission to order for April 24, 2025. With the call to order being complete, do we have announcements by staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, staff has received a replat of Lot 390 CCA, which is currently under review, and that is all the announcements.
Very good. Any other, concluding all announcements, we'll move over to the approval of the minutes of the April 24, 2025. Is that correct? That's today. So it'll be the May meeting, correct? It'll be the May meeting.
Yes, it should be the May, no, I'm sorry, the March.
March, excuse me. I had it going forward.
He had that.
So
wrong,
we'll correct that little typo. So the March meeting minutes are before you, included in your packet. Do we have any revisions or corrections, comments? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve the March 27th, 2025 Maumelle Planning Commission regular meeting minutes.
I hear a second.
Second.
Hearing first and second, we'll now act on the approval of the March meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries for the approval of minutes. We do not have any public comments on non-agenda items. We will open the public hearing. The first action of business is our old business, which is DeVoe Bend Lake Estates. Proposed preliminary plat for approval, 11 lot, single family detached subdivision, private streets, locations on Zajac Road. Applicant is represented. It is Mr. Eric Holloway this evening. We do have several comment cards or requested to speak. I'm going to take them in the order that I received them. So I don't have too many, so we do have a full room, but you do have the ability to speak without filling out a comment card. I might have sounded a little bit brash when we got going, but if you wish to speak, you just raise your hand, be recognized, and come forward to the lectern. So with that being said, if we're going to limit around 3 minutes, so this is the second time we've heard this item. We did hear it last time with no action in working out some things with the developer. So you're asked to keep it within 3 minutes. If someone else wants to come up and speak, you can definitely just recognize that and just say we support colleagues' comments, whomever that might be. So with that being said, we will get going with the introduction of the business for DeVoe Bend Lake Estates.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair. I won't put you in that position yet.
No doubt I've had it.
So I'll go back through the staff summary on this, and just as a reminder to the commissioners as well as to the audience, this item came up on the agenda last month and was deferred to this month to allow for additional comment from community as well as the developer to work with the county so that we could get a better consensus on what the county's stance was. So this subdivision is approximately 48 acres located in the city of Maumelle. It is along the bayou, and it abuts the county in the Marche area. The average lot size is 2.28 acres. Last month, they brought the subdivision plat to us with 21 lots. Since last month, in discussion with the county, they've reduced the number of lots to 11, and that overall density now has been reduced to about approximately 0.23 units per acre. So the land use is single-family detached, and the zoning is PRD. There is you made a recommendation for a zoning change, which is with the City Council currently, to an R1 zone that has made its second reading and will be up for third reading at the first meeting of the month in May. The amount of open space is increased to 39.64%, and the number of existing lots are 2. You'll notice on the staff analysis the modifications from last month, and I'll just go over those that are from this month that I made changes to. Whereas the lot sizes last month were average of 1.34, the average is 2.28 acres per lot, and 19 acres of open space versus 15, so that's increased. Of course, the proposed number of lots have decreased to 11 large estate lots, and the analysis overall, I made some additions, and I'll just kind of read through that for the audience so that they can see. So a total of 23 parcels, excluding the proposed, do take access to Zajac Road. Of these 23 parcels, only one was subdivided by plat. The remainder were subdivided by deed. The mean acreage per parcel is 6.71 acres, and the median acreage is 2.5 acres, with 16 parcels having acreage under 3.5 each, having a total of 35.48 acres. Don't know whether to use my glasses or use my eyeballs. Let's see. Existing lots are under 2.5 acres. All right, so 11 existing lots are under 2.5 acres in size with a total of 19.93 acres. This is a density of 1.81 lots per acre, more than the proposed 0.23 acres per lot. Bless you. Assuming single family per parcel on 23 parcels, only 18 currently have structures out there that's outside of this proposed development. The average daily trips currently totaling, assuming 7.5 average daily trips per household, would currently be at 172.5 ADTs. The proposed development would add approximately 82.5, with a total ADT of 255 post-development. Roads serving fewer than 400 vehicles per day are known as very low volume roads. That's per Johnson 2008, and the US DOT considers roads with 400 or less ADT low volume roads. So you'll notice that the actual volume on this is much less than 400, so it would be considered low volume. The proposed reduction from 21 lots to 11 lots at an average lot size of 2.8 acres and density of 0.23 lots per acre with a total ADT of 255 post-development makes this proposed subdivision in line with the surrounding area. In addition, this proposed being legally platted with internal streets and one access point to Zajac Road versus 11 separate driveways meets the intent of section 70-132 for the general guidelines for street layout and appropriateness to the development type. Based on the above analysis, staff considers this proposed subdivision not to increase area traffic or impacts beyond that which has been generally accepted by the county and other areas with similar road designs and higher densities. And I do want to point out, when I did this analysis, it was based on an 18-foot chip-sealed road when I was doing my research on other roads in the county as well as in other states around the U.S. After doing this analysis, I do realize that some parts of the road are at about 16 feet. Somewhere it's close to 18, so it varies in range on my side. City staff have removed their prior contingencies and recommend approval based on compliance with Maumelle City Code as the parcel lies within the boundaries of the city of Maumelle and no adverse effects to the surrounding area are anticipated, with the exception of construction traffic during development. Any impacts to infrastructure on Zajac Road due to construction traffic would be required to be remediated by the developer. Any off-site improvements to Zajac Road and drainage will remain between the county and developer. Half-road improvements per Maumelle ordinance adjacent to development will be required. Before I continue on with staff recommendations, there's one thing that will change from the staff, because between the point that we placed this staff report and the agenda out last week, of course, we always continue working up until the Planning Commission, and that was no different than today, which worked all the way up until this meeting started. So I did place in front of you the comments from the county, and I just want to pass that along. So Van McClendon emailed me yesterday at 6:30 p.m. The county's position on the proposed DeVoe Bend Lake Estate subdivision, and I highlighted the areas that were pertinent to that. And the county has considered that we need City of Maumell's Planning Commission to require that the improvements to Zajac Road as proposed by the developer be made a condition of approval of the preliminary plat. So the conditions that they're saying as proposed by the developer was worded as such. I'm asking permission from the County Public Works to widen Zajac and Gabansky to 20 feet back to the intersection with Marche Road. I would also like to replace 2 undersized culverts on Zajac Road that underperformed during significant rain events. I would perform this work at the end of the construction period of the subdivision, and as always, will offer the county's typical maintenance bond to ensure the quality of the work. So with that, at that point, I would change staff recommendation where on the staff report I had crossed out the county, and I would add that back in and say staff recommends approval of the DeVoe Bend Lake Estates addition contingent upon approved rezoning to R1 and meeting all staff, city engineer, county, and planning commissioner comments. With that being said, I do want to say that I attended the county planning board's meeting this past Tuesday, and it was very good. A lot of residents showed up that live in the surrounding area, and the county listened to their comments and concerns, and part of the recommendation that came out of those comments. So I think that's a good way of showing how both the county and the city work together in order to communicate the public's needs and their concerns. With that, there's a lot of concerns that came out of that. I'm sure there's some folks that are going to want to speak to that tonight. I did want to touch base on some of those things and just kind of reiterate that after discussion with the city attorney, the county attorney, and the mayor, just keeping in mind that the planning commission, when we're acting and discussing on the preliminary plat, then we utilize our subdivision regulation for what's within the boundary of the city of Maumelle, which is the plat itself. When it comes to off-site improvements or any recommendations from the city, then the best way I can describe that is it's similar to where a subdivision would require electricity or wastewater improvements. The developer has to seek those utilities, and we don't regulate those. We don't make, that's just something that the developer has to take care of. This would be in the same way where the county is providing ingress and egress to this particular subdivision. There is no way for this subdivision to take access from a City of Maumelle street. You cannot build a bridge to this subdivision. There's no direct connection. There's a subdivision on the other side of the bayou that would impede that and would not allow that. It's also cost prohibitive. But I will say that the ingress and egress is from county roads, so the developer is working with the county in order to achieve that. So any review, any impacts to from those improvements would be reviewed by the county and be the county's responsibility, not the city's responsibility. We're responsible for the subdivision plat. We would be responsible for the development activity on that land inside the city, and we would be responsible for any impacts that are surrounding that subdivision that may come off-site. And that's where our BMPs, our best management practices, as well as construction protocols to make sure that they reduce impacts off-site. So that's something that we do, and as a city, I gotta make sure to keep touching my computer or we're gonna lose signal. Sorry about that. And that's one of the benefits of being in the city. with this is that we respond immediately to any concerns that come up. I mean, very quickly, and we're right on top of that. So, but at the same time, we do want to continue working with the county. We have a good county working relationship. And with the removal of the ETJ, our extraterritorial jurisdiction, and our ability to do subdivision review on the outskirts of our city, it's going to be even more important that we continue that relationship with the county so that we can have good planning with the connectivity and the interaction between the county line and the city's boundary. So with that, I'll kind of leave that with discussion.
Thank you. The question I have is, and I understand, Mr. Governor, I appreciate your comment regarding the notes and regarding sewer, electric, and those types of things, which are, I think, a little bit different. I've never known the county to make a requirement on any connection with a county road, especially to this. So I don't think your mic's on. It is. I'm sorry. I'll speak louder.
Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for keeping me in line. So my question is to our counselor here is that I don't mind putting a requirement on the plat if that's so their desire. I think we do have a congenial relationship with them. My question is that I don't think there's any way we can enforce it just by, and I would like some clarification or what your interpretation is of that. So we require this of the plat. It's not our duty as the city of Maumelle to enforce the requirement. It would still be the county's, correct?
That's correct. And I think in the unlikely event that the applicant and the county couldn't come to an agreement, I think you would probably see Mr. Grummer require a resubmission to the Planning Commission. He wouldn't be able to approve the final plat.
If anything were needed to be changed based on any of the requirements that were outside. So if the plat came back through as the same and it's developed, so typically, so we would review the civil plans on this once the preliminary is approved. So, you know, part of what we're going to be looking for is the work between the county and the developer. So, I guess that's and I see your question on that is, can we enforce if the improvements are not made to the county, then what is our stance at that point? And
So, assuming, I do think that the Planning Commission has.
Let's pause just a second, and for the people to understand why I'm asking the question, so they understand where we're coming from. So, you know, and I always say that just because we put a note on the plat doesn't make it so. It's very nice that the note is on the plat. We will do what the county asks, but I want the constituents that are here tonight to understand our enforcement or lack thereof of what we can actually require the developer to do and not to do from the city of Maumelle's perspective.
Right. I think we can put, of course, our standard language is preliminary plats approved, contingent on further comments by city engineer, staff, and so forth. Adding county county comments, you know, meeting those county comments, I don't think that's an unusual. That by itself doesn't strike me as prohibitive. You're right that, and I spoke with Mr. Grummer about this, we couldn't come up with a prior situation in which we were effectively approving it contingent on improvements outside the city boundaries for a development which is inside the city boundaries. We couldn't think of a prior example of that. I do think it's, so the short answer is that no, and if no, it would be up to the county.
Correct. That's the way I interpret it as well.
Yeah, it would be up to the county to enforce that. And in the event that the agreement didn't come, the agreement between the county and the applicant, or the applicant couldn't meet the county's comments, it would be back in front of you. It's my interpretation, at least.
And if the county has the position to enforce what they're asking to do, is still.
Yeah, that's up to the county.
That's up to the county.
The county attorney.
That's right. So I want the minutes to accurately reflect that. to make sure that, you know, these constituents that are here and they're representing, they're speaking, is that we're adding these notes upon our congenial relationship, which used to be, you know, I don't know where now the ETJ is no more. So, you know, to continue to work, I think the developer has the best intent on making that. He has put that in writing. There is an email to that effect that I would like to be made part of the minutes as well too, to identify the intent of the developer to do what he says he's going to do. And he has put that in writing, but I wanted the constituents to understand that. So with that being said, any other comments before we open to public comment or questions? Okay, we'll open enter comment. Again, the 3 minutes, and you know, and the developer here is under his own, on his own accord and under the right that's afforded to him by the city of Maumelle. So, you know, last time we did have a little bit of disparaging comments and innuendo, and we want to minimize that. He'll provide you the same respect, I'm sure. And, you know, if there is something that gets out of hand, you'll be asked to sit down. So just keep it professional, and he's here by what's afforded to him by right, so I just ask that you respect that. And I'm sure that he will respect your comments as well. That being said, the first constituent that wishes to speak is Mr. Daryl Brock. Please state your name and address, Mr. Brock.
I'm Daryl Brock, 308 Shagbark Trail in Devo Bend in Maumelle. And when I come here tonight is I waited for almost a year and a half to get my lot in Devo Bend so I could look at the bayou. And everything that's happened over there has been protective of the wetlands. We've planted trees for the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm all for it. It's beautiful over there. I've been over there. The views, I probably have better views than I have in my backyard, and I've got an amazing view. And I developed, and I bought there. I build houses, and based on my experience from developing and building houses, everybody wants a house. They want their kids to have a house, but they don't want a neighbor. And that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. Appreciate it. Next is Mr. Joseph Gabansky. You would, sir, state your name and address for the record.
Right. Joe Gabansky. I live at 14424 Quinn Road in the unincorporated area of the county. But I own the property about nearly 40 acres at 101 Gabansky Road. So you can put a face to the name. And Mr. Scott's already heard my testimony at the county, but I'm pretty much going to say the same thing, that besides disrupting our community, my biggest thing is that Marche's been up there for over 100 years. My folks at my home place at Gabansky Road, we've been paying taxes for nearly 90 years. The people on Zajac Road have been paying taxes for over 100 years. Now, my gripe is that we're going to get the county to fix this road up, and the developer says he's going to help to do that, but working with the county, and of course, that's our taxpayer money. We've been there all these years and paying taxes, but the road hadn't been improved for us, okay? It hadn't been improved for us. And whatever help he's going to do to improve that road is going to be turned over to the county to maintain. So our taxes, again, are going to be used to maintain that road. So we're paying taxes and taxes, but we never got the service for it until now. To appease the developer who wants to make all the money he can, that's his choice. He bought the property, and it's admirable that he dropped it down to, 11 lots. That's good. But why should we, that have been neglected all these years, have to use our tax money to fix the road to appease his people? Some of those people are not going to pay a penny. They will later. But right now, when the money is needed, they're not paying it. We don't know who they are. So, you know, I find that to be resentful on my part, You know, 'cause we did a lot of stuff. I can remember as a kid, when my folks got run out of Camp Robinson, we had to move over there. And the earliest, I know that Daddy started building a house in 39. I was born in 43, so we had to haul rocks to fill in the ruts on the road. We never had anything. We had to do it ourselves. And it was the late 40s and early 50s when we first seen a grader, which was great. But what I'm getting at, we've been neglected, and all of a sudden, we, the taxpayers in that area, this community, which is pretty well gelled together, is gonna be dispersed, broken up. You know, the road's wider, the utilities, water, that's gonna have to be brought in. It's not going in the middle of Gabansky or Jazak Road. It's gonna be somewhere on somebody's property. So there's a lot of disruptions that are gonna take place. But my biggest gripe is, why am my tax money all of a sudden, after all these years, being used to finance a suitable road for a developer? My suggestion is, since it's 11 units, they can use the road just like it is. We do. We have for all these years. That's not gonna help much because the rear road crossings have been lifted up 1 foot. Marche Road floods every time it rains. You can bank on it. And it, depending on the rain, it backs up to past Marche Lateral. So you can't use that road. And if it rains that much, it's gonna flood on Marche Road just past Gabansky Road. Been doing that for years and years and years. So, you know, the people there, that's okay to build there. You know, we'll try to be good neighbors, and we are. But, you know, they're gonna have to learn to live like we live. You know, let them go out there and get up early, half an hour early in the morning when it rains to make sure that you can get out. I don't think that our tax money, after all those years that we've been paying and, you know, minimal work on it, you know, we can get through and everything. But it's just wrong to go ahead and use our tax money to develop a road just for 11 people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I got it. Don't let me run on. Ms. Brittany Hyatt.
My name is Brittany Hyatt. I live on Gardner Lane, which is right across the road from the new development. I've lived there for 30 years. I come before you tonight to discuss my concerns for the new proposed development on Zajac Road. I know it's been said over and over by the developer that this new development will not lead to more flooding in our area, but I know, as well as all of my neighbors, that this is not true. We are the ones who live out there and have seen how all the new developments in our area over the last several years has contributed to more and quicker flooding along our roads and our property. Mr. Holloway has a way of making everything seem like it's all going to be okay. He has a solution for everything. Sadly, many people believe this. We, on the other hand, see through this. Another thing that I'm concerned about is the uptick in traffic on our beautiful and peaceful road. I have raised 3 kids down this little county road. My family and I have always enjoyed walks down Zajac with minimal traffic. When we do pass a car on a walk, it's always someone that we know, and we always stop and say hi. I go on runs down our road a couple days a week. I have enjoyed doing this for the past 6 years. If this plan goes through, then I will no longer have this luxury of enjoying our road in these ways. It just does not make sense to me how a neighborhood on Maumelle property with no access to it from the city can get approved. I guess it does, though, if you look on the money side of it. At the end of the day, I know most of these concerns of my neighbors and I will be overlooked and forgotten in the name of profit. But I want it to be known that most of us in the Marche community see past Mr. Holloway, Mr. Maumelle Man of the Year, and his all about nature claims. We want more than anything for Marche to stay the way it is now. It does not need to be fixed. I know he has the right to do what he wants on his property. We are just asking that he makes access from Maumelle and leave Marche and our Little County Road alone. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jacob Hyde.
Jacob Hyatt, 5203 Gardner Lane. I guess I'll follow that. You've heard our concerns. We've talked about the safety, all the things in the previous meeting. I won't go through all that again, but I would like to point out a few things that have been misrepresented over the past month. Today, in the office's staff analysis, it was talked about the parcel size. The acreage size as being presented is a gross misrepresentation of the size of the homesteads in the area. The numbers will have you to believe that the average home site is less than 2 acres. When you account for the individual owner's total land ownership, that number is more correctly measured at an average of 9.33 acres per landowner. This is a far cry from the numbers presented and is much larger than the 2.5 acre lots being presented in the new development. The next thing was neighborhood aesthetics. Everybody talks about it's going to be just similar to the neighborhood and what we already have. It's all going to be the same. There's not a single subdivision in Marche that has a gated entrance, a 70-foot wide gated entrance. There's nothing out there like that. It's grossly absurd for the aesthetics of our community. We're going to go from looking at nature, which we're trying to preach and have everybody unite with, to a gated entrance that's 70 foot wide, just demolishing trees. Next thing, the traffic count. It's been talked about. The numbers are also misrepresented on the agenda as well. They're calculated favorably for the developer and less favorable for the current residents. The analysis clearly states that there are 23 parcels on Zajac, with only 18 having structures. However, the parcels with no structures are calculated into that total count to inflate the current number of trips per day. If you do the math correctly, the current residents would account for 128 trips per day as opposed to the 172 presented, and the new development would add an additional 83 trips per day. As previously mentioned at the last meeting, fire and safety, the previous agenda and the current agenda said that fire has been reviewed. The Maumelle Fire Marshal stated in a conversation with me that all the homes in the new subdivision, he will require they have sprinkler systems, and that's due to the delayed response time for them to get there in emergencies. So sprinkler system's great. The houses may survive a fire. What about other emergency situations? Police, ambulance, any of that? I guess the new homeowners, they'll be able to last a few more minutes in a stroke or heart attack situation possibly. As a planning committee, I would think that the safety of future residents should be at least considered or documented. In a conversation with the developer, he pointed out to me that we do not own the road, which has never been a point of contention. The county owns the road, we understand that. However, we have maintained the road. Mr. Gabansky pointed out, he helped build the road in the 40s and 50s, if I remember the dates correct. I've personally fixed potholes on the road. I've carried gravel from my own driveway to go fix potholes until the county gets around there. We pick the trash up on the sides of the road. All of us mow our own ditches. We don't have the county come out and mow the ditches. We do that ourselves. We manage the tree limbs. When they start hanging too low and hitting vehicles, that's been done by us, the neighbors. So we don't own the road, but the road originated from the labors of families that are still represented in here tonight and still reside on that road. There's Zajac still on the road, and there's Gabansky. So the people that did build the roads are still there, whether they own it or not. We, as the residents of these streets, should have just as much right to the road as a singular developer wanting to move in. If the developer wants to make changes to the road, we should be allowed to express our opinions and also agree to the changes beforehand. At the end of the day, my neighbors are the ones who will lose property frontage to the widening of the road. In some spots, the road has to be a couple feet wider on each side to meet the recommendations. In other spots, the road will need to be 10 feet wider. It ranges from 12 feet to 16 feet along Zajac Road. When you widen the road, you have to move new ditches and utilities. So who loses in this situation? It's not the developer. Sure, he may have to spend a little bit of money on the deal, but there's homes, there'll be landowners who have now lost their trees that provided privacy to their homes. There'll be a farmer who has a quarter-mile stretch of fence that will be moved back and have to be re-erected for his herd. At the meeting Tuesday, the county did not state any final decisions on the contingencies that were mentioned at last month's meeting. Is there a finalized plan in writing that explains Mr. Holloway's requirements for road improvements? Have the landowners that will be affected by the road upgrades been informed of the upcoming changes to their land? You previously mentioned that a bridge is not possible. A bridge is possible. It's just cheaper to railroad a neighborhood than to build a bridge across the bayou. Mr. Holloway assures us that there will be no negative impacts on us. I've listed several, my neighbors have listed several. Are we just making these things up? Are these things gonna be a reality in the future? That's all I have, and thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Concludes all the public comment cards I had regarding the applicant submission this evening. A couple questions I have from staff based upon some comments. I did a quick review of the comments from the fire department, and I didn't see any sprinkler requirements for the residents. Is that changed?
There's never, to my knowledge, there's not been any sprinkler requirements, and the fire department was supposed to be here, present, and I don't know if they're here.
Maybe on call, not on call.
Okay. So, they've studied this, they've gotten a Knox box, key to the gate on, Short Marche. They did drive times and found that the drive time from Station 1 along 365 down Marche to get to here is 7 minutes, I believe is what he said, and then 11 minutes going from Station 2 through the Short Marche gate. So they've got access through both ways, and they said they can service it no different than other areas of the city of Maumelle that's inside the city limits on this side of the bayou.
And as I tried to make it clear with the question and answer exchange with our attorney, we do not have any authority over the Zajax Road. We don't. We can put, the note will be for them to coordinate, for the developer to coordinate, and I think that's a better discussion to have with your county representation than here, as we cannot enforce it. And I'm not sure how enthused the developer, I thought the developer was adding this to address concern, and it appears that they don't want improvement. So I'll let you work that out with the county and the residents as you move forward with your development. Open up questions for any other.
I really only have a couple questions, but the main one is, I think earlier it was mentioned about the 8-inch water pipe. Has that been confirmed, or is that an upgrade from what it is? I believe it's six inches now.
Roy Andrews, Holloway Engineering, 200 Casey Drive. Based on the reduction in the number of houses, we haven't gotten a determination from CAW on that, on the size of the water line that will be required. So we're not sure, and there's a couple of options on the size of the water line and where it comes from. One thing to note, that water line would be run in the existing right-of-way.
Correct.
So it doesn't take away from anybody's property. And I've got a few other responses, but I'll let you ask another question.
One of the part of the commission, we have of our ordinance 70-131, we use as the general principles in deciding these. And I made the effort to look into the county side as well, which in general, the city side is a little tighter, a little bit more constrictive than the county. And one of the items they want us to really work on as a guideline is the adequacy of public facilities and services. And that was one of the concerns as far as the fire and that type of thing. I believe it was earlier, it was mentioned that an 8-inch pipe would be put in. And now that the lots have reduced in half, I understand your point on that.
Right, and we need to work with Central Arkansas Water, kind of like Scott stated before, on electric and utilities and things like that. We'll work with Central Arkansas Water, and if they require the 8-inch line, then we'll put in the 8-inch line.
What is the size of the current line down Zajax?
I believe it's a 6-inch.
I drove it this morning. I didn't see too many fire hydrants and frequency.
Correct, and that may be what triggers the 8-inch line, but that's where Central Arkansas Water and their analysis of their system, they'll dictate what size.
And that's real
needs.
important, because if one of those lots catch on fire, you'd like to
Correct.
be able to put it out.
Oh, correct.
So that's something.
And that is something not just with CAW, but also Maumelle Fire Department and really the county. The Elk Grove Fire Department will have a say in that as well. We'll have to meet their requirements.
Okay.
I would expect that there will be additional fire hydrants at a greater frequency than what is there.
Correct.
Without a doubt.
They may not be required
Just for the residents to
down-
understand that, so,
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I have.
thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, my question has to do with, there was a comment made about with the development, their observation, the residents' observations are that flooding has increased. That's their observation. I know recently, we, as a planning commission, along with city council, approved the updated water flow ordinance or codes.
Stormwater ordinance.
Okay, so those will be applicable for this development, correct?
That is correct, and if you wouldn't mind pulling your microphone up a little closer, and I'll just remind that to the commissioners. They just told me they're having audio issues with in and out, so that is correct. We did update that, so this subdivision would be, I'm sorry, doing too many things at once. This subdivision would be required to do a 25-year, as well as they would have to detain any water to make sure that any water leaving the site does not increase beyond what's currently required.
Do we need to put any additional comments in as we look at our recommendations for that? Or again, so nothing exceeds after the development, that the water levels are not exceeding pre-development?
By
So-
requirement of the code, those
That's
requirements
enough.
have to be met,
All
absolutely.
right, sir, thank you.
Part of the issues with the water, a lot of the flooding that is happening, and there is flooding that happens during certain rain events, most of that is upstream, and we will not be able to affect that. But certainly with any development within the city of Maumelle, really the county, Little Rock, North Little Rock, with the drainage requirements, we cannot exceed current runoff standards.
And I'd like to add also, just to kind of dispel comments that I've heard that have come out that may be confusing. A majority of this, the land, and I'll pull it up here in just a second, is not in the floodplain. And actually, there's elevations that are higher than some of the surrounding areas. And I'll kind of pull that up and kind of show you how that works. So when you're looking at the development in total, here's where it's at. So the majority of the property is out of the floodplain, and half of it slopes towards the bayou, and then the other half that's on the northern side does slope towards the north. So there are drainage that would come towards some of the surrounding properties. He shows a detention area that is on the plat, and which is right here, which he'll be draining to. And then I will also state that there's current drainage that drains from the surrounding properties onto this property and actually cycles through this area, which is a low-lying area that's kind of looks to be created by the road improvements around it that's been raised in the land. So this is kind of a low-lying area that carries water, and then it channels on through, and then it passes through this area to a pond that is to the north there. So, so the development will be required to make sure any water that's leaving the site does not have any negative impacts to the surrounding.
The other thing, or what I've heard, Mr. Gabansi mentioned this, is that I believe it is the county's desire to improve the road, or at least that's my understanding, that the developer's willing to do that, and that was to address public comment. I'm sure that the developer is open to other avenues of satisfaction, because that's going to be an expensive endeavor that will come out of his pocket. I think we understand that the taxes you pay will continue to maintain the road, that we understand that, but I believe that those are county requirement. I hate to say requirements. I think that came from the county side, based upon public comment, if I recall correctly. So
You're correct on that. And I think there's a misconception there. The county is not proposing to spend any tax dollars improving the road. It was the developer that asked for permission to do that. And the developer also stated that if there were potholes created or failures created during construction, he would fix those. That's not at the taxpayer's expense. And the taxpayers, adding 11 lots creates more taxes to help pay for improvements of the road once the lots are sold.
the city pays county taxes as well.
Yes.
I think, if I recall correctly, we pay tax for Maumelle and for the county. So I wanted to encourage the folks that are here, is that I still think there's opportunity there to discuss those items with your county representation. That would be the Public Works and then the planning director. And if you need numbers to those types of folks, our director here can definitely point you in the right people to talk with, so. So this development does stay with us this evening. If there's not any further comments, we'll entertain a motion. Motion does need to be in the affirmative, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a do-pass recommendation for SUB -25-3 for DeVoe Bend Lake Estates proposed preliminary plat.
Pending other comments, Commissioner
Sorry,
comments?
it's not a do-pass recommendation, it's a approval.
Yes, did I misstate? Did I misspeak?
No, no.
Oh,
Mr.
you did, Rusty did. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I didn't catch that. Yeah, it stays here. It's for approval, Rusty.
I'll make a motion for approval of SUB -25-3 DeVoe Bend Lake Estates.
Thank you,
And-
Counselor.
And I'm sorry, can we make that approval contingent upon staff, city engineer, planning commissioner, and
Contingent on
county
Staff,
comments?
city engineer, planning commissioner comments.
Thank you. I hear a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing first and second, we'll now act on the approval of the DeVoe Bend Lake Estates for SUB 25-3. All those that are in favor of the development say yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Very good. Yeses have it. We'll move on to new business, which is the Diamond Quality Services expansion.
All righty, bear with me just
Let
one moment.
the record reflect that we had one no in opposition. That was correct. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Make sure I heard it correctly. No problem.
And that was, the record will reflect, that was contingent on staff, city engineer, county, and planning commissioner
Yes, sir.
comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, bear with me while I pull that up. So the next item on the agenda is Diamond Quality Service expansion, a proposed site plan for expansion of existing business at 601 Carnahan Drive.
So we got folks, we'll give just a second, let some of these folks filter out. We got some rest of some business to attend to, folks, so, if you would, and then just give them a couple seconds here. Thank you. Go ahead, Scott.
So the first item on the agenda is a variance request, which does require opening of the Board of Zoning of Adjustments.
We'll open this Board of Zoning Adjustment. Are you going to present the?
Mr. Commissioner, I have a
Everyone
question. There's a part of the packet, April 18th, that mentioned that they adjusted the site plan
Correct.
to reduce it, so we do need to still need to open the
Well,
adjustments?
I'm wanting our staff to present the item.
I'm sorry. Well, and like I said, bear with me at the front of this
Yeah,
thing.
he's working through it.
So I guess before I can present the site plan, I kind of need to hear, and I apologize, is the applicant representative here? Would both of you please come up to the front? So this item has been worked on up until even this week. I do have a staff member that is out that's been reviewing this. And originally, when this was presented to the city for our review, it did provide a site plan that did not comply. So we discussed at subcommittee for a variance in order for a distancing between the buildings. Since that time, I believe there's been emails that have been going back and forth that have changed the site plan. One, if I'm not mistaken, that was in the packet that showed that distancing had come into compliance, but then there was also an issue with the fire department as to being able to protect the building. And then there was another site plan that came through that fixed that. So I guess my question to you is, do we still need to seek a variance because you have, well, And I guess before I move forward with even describing the item, there may have been some emails today. I believe I got an email from the Chief Eaton, but because of the other item that we just finished discussing, I've been busy all day. I haven't had a chance to review those things. So in my opinion, I don't necessarily have a site plan that has been reviewed properly well enough to be presented to the Planning Commission for a decision tonight. So technically, I'm going to be requesting if we can defer this until next month for an action, because I don't feel like that it was properly ready for us to have enough time in order to deal with all the changes and manipulations to the site plan. And I apologize for that. It's just one of those things where it's always best to vet these out prior to coming to Planning Commission, which is, I believe we met back in September maybe of last year or so, and had we worked these details out prior to, then it may have been different. But anyway, I just wanted to speak to that to see, do we need to continue with the variance request on this? Okay, so you've resolved the site plan in a way?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I
Sure,
address
go ahead.
that site situation?
Sure.
Let me ask you a
Jerry
couple
Simmons.
questions first, sir, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Make sure we can hear this item. So, my position always, is the application complete? So it sounds like, to me, Mr. Grummer, you've not reviewed the application was changing so much that you've not reviewed it to a point for us to hear it, or are you requesting us to defer it?
So
That's what I heard you say.
Well, so my planner too, who has reviewed the site plan that was provided at the time that I saw it, which I believe was included in the packet. And let me get to it here. There it is. Okay.
I don't, as far as the commission concerns, my recommendation is that if you've not had time to review the applicant's packet due to changes, that we defer.
Right. So this is the typical site plan that we would review. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is this the site plan that's shown up on the screen? Is this the proposed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So although this is a rough sketch plan, it's not a site plan that provides all the elements that we require for an action.
Right.
Now, I believe that may have been emailed today, maybe, I don't know, but the Chief Eaton had emailed me with some concerns over it, which tells me that we still have some outstanding issues that we need to deal with.
Okay. Can I?
Yes, you may.
Sorry. The reason, the site, first reason the site, the first one you showed, the one that was submitted.
And I'm sorry, if you can go up to
The first reason, the site plan that was submitted was to avoid having to ask for a variance. So I just rotated the building on the site, which put it within the setbacks. But the fire chief, had some concerns about putting in an access road, a fire lane, which, the other site that we originally had, he was okay with. He just wanted the building further away.
right.
So we shortened the building, and I rotated it back, so it would still be in the direction that he was okay with it. That's what that sketch was.
Right.
And so, Jason, I guess he's out, but we had he'd asked for the electronic revisions, and that was sent today, but I didn't know he was out,
Right, and I intended to communicate with you today, but again, I've been running all day trying to handle other challenges, and that's where I just didn't have the time in order to manage all this in
Right.
one day.
So we just adjusted the building on the site to meet the fire chief's concerns and to keep it within the setback lines.
So,
That's where we are.
and I've got the email from the chief, I can read that if you want.
No, we're gonna defer. I'm a little bit of a stickler on this to make sure that public comment and the
That's
public can
fine.
see where we're at. So unless this warehouse is just,
No, that's,
30 days is
mean-
not gonna hurt you. I'd rather for it for our
That's-
staff to have due diligence through. and we do that. And I hope you respect that. I'm not
No, I
trying to
do,
burn.
I'm not trying to,
I'm not trying to
certainly
burn you
not trying to
either.
push you through to it, I'm just
Right.
saying, we adjusted everything
Yeah.
to fix that.
But, and I will comment that the fire chief does not have a plan with the revised site plan. Apparently the
If it
scale.
came in today, I doubt that.
Yeah,
that
well,
was-
the scaling didn't work properly, so there are things that were not working so that we could verify distances and all that on the site plan.
We get you cleaned up and see you next month. I need a recommendation to defer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. For the next scheduled meeting, our counselor always likes the date. Let me, thanks, sir. Got somebody ahead. So somebody making the motion, have it for May 22nd. Is that right, John?
Yes, yes. I move to defer, site plan 24-5, Diamond Quality Services expansion to the May 22nd Planning Commission meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and second, we'll act on the deferment of the Diamond Quality Services expansion. All for the deferment say yes.
Yes.
All those no. Motion carries for deferment for May 22nd next month. You will still be required to go come to subcommittee. They scattered on out of here. But they're still required to come back to subcommittee. Next item is the annexate. Well, we have two things really. We have annexation, land use map, zoning map. They'll all be heard separately. They'll have separate action for each. For the Stony Mountain annexation package.
And, Mr. Chair, we need to close the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
I never opened it.
Oh, you never did? Okay, my apologies then. Thank you. All right.
Question to the chairman.
Yes, sir.
Since we deferred it as a commission, we're compelled to vote on it next time? 60 days?
We're compelled to hear it.
Here to hear it? Okay. Thank you.
Continue on, Mr. Grummer, for the Stony Mountain annexation package. It's your patient. When you get there.
Let's see. Okay, so this item has three parts to it: an annexation, which would be a recommendation to City Council. There's a land use, an amendment to the land use map, which again would be a recommendation, as well as the proposed amendment to the zoning map, which would be a recommendation to City Council. These three items are part of a previously approved plat by the Planning Commission. There we go. And is a technicality of a previous approval, which had, because the preliminary plat was approved, the land that is located is in the county. Let me pull that map up, and I apologize, let's see. Okay. The location of the area is on the northwestern boundary of the city of Maumelle, just north of Pinnacle Heights. Currently, it does reside in the county, which is why they're requesting annexation. The approval of the preliminary plat that the Planning Commission approved had a contingency for the annexation of this property into the city, so that we can review the civil plans and manage its overall development. If it did not get annexed, then it would have to go back through the county, because then we would not be able to, it would go through the county's approvals. So staff is recommending a do pass recommendation to City Council for the annexation of this land.
Very good. We do have one public comment card. Ms. Leah McDaniel. Yes, ma'am. We'll recognize you. If you would, please state your name and your address for the record.
My name's Lee McDaniel. I live at 191 Diamond Point Drive.
Welcome.
And I just have a couple of things I'd like to bring up.
Yes, ma'am.
I met with Dustin with Holloway Engineering, and he explained to me Holloway's plan for the water flow off the hill behind Diamond Point and what they plan to do with that. but it converges where part of it's gonna belong to the city and part of it's gonna belong to the developer. I'm not sure what the city's plan is for that runoff, because there is a concrete viaduct that comes down that hill, dumps on the developer's land, then it merges right behind my house, where the water from the city's drainage is flowing down, and the water over behind that, there's a dirt berm. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about. There's like a little dirt hill between the two runoffs. There's only gonna affect about 5 or 6 houses at the backside of Diamond Point, because there's a hill on one side and a hill behind my house where it converges and water comes down to that area. They pulled in some large rock and fixed the road on tracks to keep it where they can drive across it, which needed to be done. But what's gonna happen when they start clear cutting that land back there, take away all the rocks, take away all the trees, and the water from the city is flowing onto the developer's land, and then it's coming down through the city's drain from the hill, right down behind my house on 2 sides, along the walking path behind my house. It's gonna affect about 5 or 6 houses on down from me. So it's a very small group of people that are gonna be impacted about this, and I realize that greatly reduces the importance. But some of my neighbors, one lady is a single mom raising her kids. She's a heart patient, not even able physically to mow her own yard. I do not know her well. But it came way up in her yard during the last heavy rain. I'm really concerned it's gonna get worse, and we don't currently live in a flood zone. I don't want that to change, and us to live in a flood zone because of the development. I bought that house with full knowledge that that land would be developed eventually. I knew it would be. I am not opposed to it being developed. I would actually probably feel a little safer with neighbors back there instead of the woods. But I want it done responsibly. And I had to do a see it, click it, fix it, because that drainage ditch on Mom L's side got backed up and it wouldn't drain properly. So they sent a ditch witch out, cleaned it all out, got it draining again. The day after the rain, it's all sopped up again. I used to dig that out myself, but I'm not physically able to do that anymore. I've lived there 18 years, so, you know, I've cleaned it for a long time, but I just physically can't do it. Please take a hard look at how that's gonna impact those families along the backside of Diamond Point, and consider them also as plans for the city for that water runoff. It is a volume of water you wouldn't believe unless you saw it. And I posted it on social media so that hopefully it would garner some attention and you could see it. It is a large volume of water that comes down that hill right behind my house, and then my neighbors get it on both sides. I'm not as concerned about my house, truthfully, because it's high off the ground, as I am about my neighbors. It's a little lower. They may not be here. I'm not sure if I'm the only one from Diamond Point here. Probably I am, but that's okay. And that was really all I've got, and thank you for listening. I appreciate your time and appreciate what you do for Mom Mill.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'll attest to, there is a lot of volume of water, and I can speak to that.
She's showing the videos as well, too. Well, we do have a pretty good, strong storm drain ordinance, stormwater ordinance there, and now that the developer is here and representative, I'm sure that he will adhere to that, and thank you for bringing that to attention. So as plans move forward, I'm sure Mr. Grummer, they'll come through his department, and he'll give that its due diligence. So thank you for making us more aware of the situation.
For you guys to see the actuality of it, instead of just what's on paper. If you see all that water converging down there and how flooded it was last time, I think it would make you think differently.
If I could get your information before you leave, so I can speak to you. Okay, great. Yeah, there you go. I'll give you a call and try to find a time where I can come out there and take a look, and you can kind of show me.
Hard rain would be a good time to come.
Right. Well, I put my rubber boots on from time to time and come out. So I've got those too.
I've got some.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Happy to provide it. No further comment cards are on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I submitted a card for this
Oh, that's right, you did, Mr. Hughes. I am so sorry. It got buried up. Come forward. Yes, sir. I'm sorry for not
No,
acknowledging
you're
you.
good. Jacob Hyde, 5203 again. I understand, being a county resident, that the county roads are none of y'all's concerns, but just in reviewing this, looking at the agenda, Diamond Point Road and Ridgeland Drive, they're about to have 200 homes behind them. If you do the math we did on our area, 1,500 to 2,000 vehicles going through those neighborhoods. I know county roads don't matter, but that seems like a large volume of traffic to go through neighborhoods that are already there. So I just would like to point out for them, the guys that live there, that, hey, there's gonna be a lot of traffic. I think it should be a public comment that people are aware that this is gonna happen to their neighborhood. It's also my understanding gonna be more of a entry-level homes in that subdivision, so what would that do to land ownership or value of their homes in the existing neighborhood? So I saw that, thought it was kind of a similar situation what we're facing, but this is truly city roads that are gonna be affected, so that's a large volume of traffic according to metrics, so just wanted to point that out. That's all I had. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Any other public comment? Did I miss anybody else? Very good. First item is the proposed annexation, the annexation.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
In the packet, it's mentioned there were three, the recommendation has three: final plat approval, infrastructure. It's on this page right here.
Okay.
Oh, I got you. Right.
Okay. Do you still need
What
that
item
in
number
the-
is it?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
It has an item number, doesn't it, John? Which one are you making reference to?
Nine, recommendation. The question I have is, do we need to phrase that in our motion?
It'd be a staff comment, just like in anything else with
Right.
the annexation.
And
It
then-
says staff recommends approval of proposed annexation contingent upon the final plat approval following annexation. The infrastructure dedication ordinance prior to any construction, legal publication, notice of compliance per state law. The compliance notice is for annexation, but the two prior are city requirements.
Right, and this was more of just an analysis of the overall annexation that was proposed. Of course, the recommendations, that's just part of the overall process. So the overall recommendation is more of just approval of the annexation.
Oh, okay, thank you. I
do
just wanted
pass.
to clarify that. Appreciate it. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to do pass recommendation to the City Council of Annex 25-1 Stony Mountain Annex Package contingent on staff, city engineer, and commissioner comments.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the first and second, Plan Commission will now act on the proposed annexation for Stony Mountain Annexation Package. All those in favor of the annexation being due pass recommendation to City Council, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. The next item under the same RZE 25 well, actually it's LUSE 25-1 for the proposed amendment to the land use map. Staff.
Of course, with the annexation, we need to make a recommendation for its land use and its zoning. So this being the land use, it would be the area of 59.3 acres. The current land use is ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction, which of course will change come August. And then a proposed land use of SFD, which is single-family detached. That land use is best suited for the zoning that will come up next, which would be an R1 zoning.
Thank you.
Recommendation, due pass recommendation to City Council.
Thank you. Further question or comment?
This is a question, Mr. Chairman, this illustration here, that's existing zoning, is that correct, Scott?
You talking about what's around it?
Yes, sir.
So that's not showing what we're proposing to put into the land use map. I guess this green showing as open space where that little connector is, that's part of what I thought before was getting changed.
There's a land use map.
I mean, it's
Well, yeah, that's
it's
it.
kind of a
right there.
minor detail, I think, but I guess it, connecting off of Diamond Point, that area between the two houses where the access will be. I mean, it was pretty clear the intent was that that's the access point, or one of them. So it's, So when I first saw this drawing, I was assuming it was existing, not the proposed. I just want to confirm that.
Oh, that's just an exhibit.
Yeah, that's just an exhibit of that is existing land use. So the open space, the SFD, that is existing as far as how it shows on the map.
Right.
That was privately owned space, that was, intended right of way and it's been approved, so.
Are you thinking of master street plan? Are we getting mixed?
Well, we're
Yeah.
on B,
Yeah, that's
land
just
use
land use.
plan, right?
It's just land use. Correct.
Well, that's showing open space
Well-
as land use. I mean, our zoning plan matches our land use plan there, right?
Well, so we can get to the zoning map here in a second, but whether if that's an open space land use or a single-family detached land use, the underlying use of that is gonna be right-of-way within the city of Maumelle. So it really, technically doesn't matter what the land use is on it, it's gonna be used for road improvement in. Now, if we need to change that land use, I'd recommend that we make that a separate item at a future date, because it is tied to this, but that's not tied to this plat because it's outside the boundary of this platted area. But the developer, and I guess the developer's applicant representative is here, he can kind of speak to what's been
Well-
approved, but part of the approval is getting that right of way through there.
And the drawings that we've seen before showed that little strip as part of that development. So I understand that we're annexing, this application is to annex to the blue hash mark part. So I guess my question is irrelevant. Let's
We
move on.
are annexing the blue hashed mark.
All right,
And then the land use that we're proposing is in the blue hashed mark, which will be yellow, turned yellow, similar to the surrounding yellow.
So we've heard the preliminary plat. The preliminary plat was heard in ETJ. At that point in time, I don't believe that you had permission or access through there. So they'll have to submit, if they're moving forward with this plan development, which I think it's been sold, or it will be, is that they're moving forward with this plan development, then obviously that has to be, that's the intent. It's preliminary. They don't have to have the ownership now, but when they move forward with those construction plans, that ownership has to be intact for the development.
that's fine, and I understood that. I guess I was just wondering about the colors of these maps.
Right. Technically, it is currently, and we haven't changed that. If we need to change that in the future, we can do that. It doesn't really impact any of the activity that's going on the outside of that. I mean,
I
again,
understand.
when the final plat comes through, then that piece will likely be included in with that final plat. The boundary will go around it, but technically, it will still show green unless we do an official land use change to it.
And there's no technical reason we need to do that, so.
I don't know of any.
All right, let's go on. Sorry,
Right,
Chairman.
and it would actually get accepted when the streets are dedicated and the city accepts those streets. At that time, it would turn to a street and change colors.
Correct, well, no, we would still need to
Do a land use
include it
change.
into an amendment to the land use
But
map.
that's,
Yeah.
that's always lagged on.
Right.
We've never done that with that on every development as the development comes through, and then every year annually, then we make a global change and we go through it and incorporate those new developments.
I guess my question here, maybe to the city attorney, is could that piece be included into the motion if we wanted to change that? And I'm sorry, so they're not representing that piece right now, or are you?
Well, we do own that piece, yes, but I think before us is the annexation, and like it said,
No,
that's not really part of it.
we've approved the annexation, that's already been done. This is on the land use amendment. Am I
Yeah, but
correct?
then it gets complicated because you're changing the boundaries of the box.
Okay.
I think, so on the draft ordinances that I write, it'll just have the legal description for the blue hashed box.
The other's already in the city.
Oh, that's,
It is.
well, that's on the annexation, on the land use, you're
Yeah.
right, you're right.
So for the land use.
You're right, that is so we would need
I
to
need
just
to do it
make that a
separate.
whole different,
Yeah.
yes, sir,
We'll
correct.
bring it back separately.
Yeah.
And clean that up.
So, Mr. Chairman, my comments about the color of that map, both for the land use and the zoning, I wish I had never brought up.
It's okay. It's okay. it's in, it's in the city. So anyway, current action on the table is the proposed amendment for the land use map. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll go with it. I move a do pass recommendation to the Maumelle City Council of Land Use 25-1 Stony Mountain Annexation Package Amendment to the Master Land Use Map contingent on staff, city engineer, and commissioner comments.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the first and second, the commission will now act on the proposed amendment to the land use map for Stony Mountain Annexation Package. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Is due pass recommendation to City Council. The third item for the Stony Mountain Annex.
My bad.
The third item for the Stony Mountain Annexation Package is the proposed amendment to the zoning map. Staff.
I know there was a reason why I hired Jason to do this instead of me doing it.
You're just rusty, Scott. It's okay.
I commend the mayor who does all the activity on his own. All right, so this is let me get to it. We've passed, the land use. All right, so this is, again, the rezoning based on the approved preliminary plat for single-family detached. The appropriate zoning would be R1. The current zoning is ETJ. And your recommendation was a land use, of a SFD. So R1 is the appropriate zone for the location upon its annexation into the city. Staff recommends a do pass recommendation to City Council.
Thank you. Commissioner, any comments, questions, staff? Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead.
I got it. I wanna
You
do
got it?
this
Yes,
one.
ma'am.
Yes,
Go
Ms.
ahead.
Rose, go ahead.
I move a do pass recommendation to City Council for item RZE 25-2 Stony Mountain Annexation Package.
For the proposed amendment to zoning map.
Contingent upon
There you go.
further staff, commissioner, and city engineer comment.
Okay. For the proposed amendment to the zoning map.
Oh, for the proposed amendment to the zoning map.
Outstanding.
Second.
Hearing the first and second, the commission will now act on the amendment for the do pass recommendation on the amendment to the zoning map for Stony Mountain Annexation Package. All those in favor signify saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Do pass recommendation, council carries. We close close the public hearing. We have city council liaison reports. Getting late. April 7th, 2025. Vice Chair Gill.
Yes, we had a couple items. Resolution 2025-12 was a special use for MIMS, which was approved unanimously for their business to run at 500 Millwood Circle. Ordinance 1143 was the Maumelle zoning map amendment, and that was the first reading. I think at the other hearing was a second. I believe they will have one more on that, but at the meeting I was at, it was just the first reading. And that was for the zoning map amendment for the property we were talking about off Zajac.
Very good. Commissioner Rose for April 21.
Yes, Chairman. During the meeting on the 21st, there was the second reading of ordinance 1143, and it was amending Maumelle zoning map. There were no actions required, and a third reading will be at the next city council meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Next month's city council liaison is myself on May 5th, Commissioner Ray on May 19th. Any other action or discussion for tonight? Seeing none, motion, the chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chair, motion to adjourn.
Here a second.
Second.
Hearing the first and second, all those for adjournment say yes.
Yes.
All those